Hi, how are you today? This is Matthew from LoveBudi. This is a LoveCast. LoveCasts occur every week on Sunday. A little bit behind lately because we've had some tragedy in the family. My fiance has lost her brother to cancer. He's only 27 years old. And it's thrown our household into confusion and a little bit of chaos. And her home up in the mountains where she comes from, I'm in the Philippines now, and we're in her hometown area. And so what they do is they have a 9-day, actually it's a 12-day for her, because she's staying on 3 extra days to accompany her mother, to take care of her mother, and to mourn together, I guess, just to deal with a loss. But the 9-day funeral, I was there a few days, and then I had to come back and work, and then I go back, and it takes about an hour to get up that mountain road. And so I'd go up there. I spent a few nights there, and just trying to be as supportive as I can. But anyway, what it's done is it's affected the schedule. So right now, today is, let's see, take a look at the schedule here. Today is Sunday, September 23rd, and I think I'm a couple Sundays behind right now at this point. But what I wanted to share today was something that's really significant. It's a difference between LoveBudi and some other things that people are doing on the internet. Most of the things that people are doing on the internet are about earning money, about people having money, because people in general, they equate having money with having happiness, because people really, they want happiness. But people believe that money is the way to happiness, right? Because if you don't have money, you can't eat, right? You can't pay your bills. You get kicked out of your house, your home. No place to live. You have no way to go. But people have money, wow. They can fly anywhere they want. They can take vacations. They can eat caviar. They can eat anything they want. They have a big luxurious home, and then they can hire people to do the dirty work for them, whether that's landscaping, cutting the lawn, or cleaning the toilet, or even cooking the meals, whatever people consider as something that is something they don't like to do. Hey, I'll pay somebody else to do that garbage for me, and then I'll just sit around and give orders or watch TV or whatever. Very few human beings actually believe this. Most of us nowadays, now we really understand happiness doesn't come from money, but there's still this huge, incredible draw. You see, these people like these internet stars standing next to their Lamborghini or in front of their home with a pool and, all of that stuff. I don't want a Lamborghini. I've never driven one. Yeah, I guess I have. I guess I've driven a Countach before because I was a valet. I didn't own it. I was 18 years old and I was parking cars at a bar in Hollywood. Super rich people would come there, and I drove, I would park like a Porsche, or I'd park Lamborghinis, or I would park Rolls Royces, brand new Silver Shadow, incredible experience to drive those cars. But I'm grateful for that experience because I don't want one of those cars. I've always liked little cars. I bought a new Saturn at one point when I was a computer consultant full time, and I liked the Saturn. I thought it was ecological. I thought it was a nice looking car, and it was comfortable, and I put a nice stereo in there because I love music so much, and that was a nice time. That was a nice time in my life. But it was comparatively quite a modest car. So the luxurious things I don't need. I don't need a big house. I'm living in a very simple home right now on the beach, but it's so cheap to live here because in the Philippines, it's, I don't know how many islands, thousands of islands or something ridiculous. I always forget because the number is so high that I just can't really believe it. So, but anyway, got that many islands, got that much beachfront property, and our rent is just a couple $100 a month here for a 1-bedroom house. So we've got what we want. We don't need to have that money. We don't need to have that huge money. We just need enough money to get by, and then any money that we get beyond that, our goal is to do community projects. My fiance was going to school to be a school teacher because what? Because she wanted to impact the lives of young people. So we've done work in community projects here, and we're kind of still working how to do that. And we're working towards establishing here in the city where we live in Ormoc, which is on Leyte Island, establishing some community programs that could transform the mindset here in the Philippines. Combination of the mindset, the way the government works, the way the culture is, tradition, what people know. All of this constellation of circumstances causes there to be this incredible chronic poverty. I mean, it's just amazing to see the huts that people live in. Now, when I lived in San Diego, I used to go to Tijuana sometimes. And in Tijuana, you know, right across the border, you can look down because you're a little bit elevated there. There are like what appear to be cardboard homes. I don't know if they're there anymore. I haven't been there for several years. Excuse me. But when I was in Indonesia, was it Suratani? I'm trying to remember the name of the city. It might be that. Anyway, some of the worst poverty I've ever seen in the world. When I was in Nepal, even in Kathmandu, in the capital, it's just amazing the poverty. I mean, the country, Nepal, has a mindset, everything of any value or sophistication, excuse me, comes from India. And those of us that have been, I have been to India, but those of us that have been to India, we seem to be reporting that India is no great example of an advanced place to live, of a strong infrastructure, of a place full of opportunity. What am I getting at? I'm getting at the poverty that is so rampant in the world and what's causing that. Do you think that your desire or our attraction, when we see a Lamborghini or we see a huge house, I mean, look at the White House, for example. Is that the house? To me, since I've come to understand what money is and how money works, when you look at the White House where the president lives, does that look like the home of a public servant? Or does that look like the house of some kind of like a rich someone who doesn't do their own laundry, someone who doesn't cook their own food, someone who certainly is not at the beck and call of people in the community, of the people who live there. You know, Washington, D.C., where the White House is, has one of the highest crime rates in the world. Why? Well, it's not because the politicians there are focusing on community and helping people that are in need. So this brings me around to love. What's love all about? Why do I believe in love? Because no matter how much money any single person has, that's not the solution to the problems, because any single person, you can't really do that much by yourself. So I believe in any resources I have, any extra resources I have that go beyond supporting my own family, supporting my own happy life, joyful life, secure life, contented life, which is quite modest, as I mentioned. Anything beyond that goes into building community and helping people understand the idea of community. Most people haven't thought this. I'm a little bit of a weird guy, okay? I'll give you a little, I can tell you two little stories. One of the things that happened when I was a kid, I was in kindergarten. I went to kindergarten. I never went to nursery school. Lived in Chicago, Northwest Side. My mother had 3 boys and 3 girls. I'm the youngest of that family of 6 children. When I went to kindergarten, here was what the regimen was. Here was what we did. We sat in a circle. These are the things that I can remember still now today. I'm 58 years old. I guess I was about 5 at the time. Sitting in a circle. Every week some kid is supposed to, or every day, another kid is assigned to bring boxes of cookies for the class so that every kid in the class can have 1 or 2 cookies. I'm sure I forgot at one time. I'm sure I was just so out of sync with this idea of responsibility to the school and what I was supposed to do for this educational system. I just didn't get it. I never got it. I still don't. Well, I get it now, but I don't agree with it. And milk. I think the school would provide the milk. So I had these little cartons of cow's milk, a couple of cookies, sit around in a circle, roll a ball around the room. You know, maybe this had something to do with practicing interaction with other kids. I don't know. Roll a ball around the room and then take a nap. Take a nap. I'm going to school to take a nap. I got my bed at home. I've got everything I need at home. Why am I taking it? So anyway, I went to my mother. And my mother, I think, there's 2 things. She was maybe trying to empower me if she understood that concept. I'm not sure if she really was. I guess she was. Yeah, she understood that concept. Although she didn't use those words to express it. But I think 80% of the reason was because she wanted her child to be closer to her because she loved babies. And I was the last baby that she had. I was the last of the babies, and you know, that was the end of an era for her. And so she wanted to be closer to her babies. And I remember getting on the bus one time, and we're getting in the back door of a public bus in Chicago, downtown, and the bus driver didn't see me. I think I was second, and he started to close the door. And he closed the door on me physically, which didn't hurt me at all. Big rubber parts of the door didn't hurt me. But my mother just went ballistic on the guy. Made me feel good. At the time, I was a little bit scared and confused, but later on when I realized, wow, my mom loves me so much, she's defending me, she's standing up for me. Okay, so the second part of the story was, when I did get into school, after the end of the year, by the way, my mother took me home to work with her. Forgot to mention that. So she took me home from school, and then she took me to work with her. So we'd ride the bus together, we'd take public transit to go to her job, which was on the 2nd floor of a shop that sold magic tricks. So I had the run of the upper floor there, literally run. I would run around. They had a little dog there. His name was Whimper. It was a dachshund. And my mother did bookkeeping for those guys. That was her job. And so I could just, they had parts of magic tricks there. They had all these tiny drawers full of little doodads and interesting little things. It was just fascinating to me. And it was just heaven for me. And I started to formulate ideas about what can I do to benefit the world? Maybe I could be an inventor. Thomas Edison did some cool stuff. And I started studying Thomas Edison when I was a kid. I went to the library. I got a library card when I was, 6 or 7. And started studying about Thomas Edison and the great contributions that he had made to humanity. Since then, I've heard a little bit different story about the guy, but that doesn't take away from some of the great inventions that have his name on them, like the stock ticker, the light bulb, and movie projector. A lot of really great stuff the guy did. Okay, so anyway, it was really cool. I mean, it was a great thing. So after I had that kind of freedom, and after I had that kind of environment, and it gave me a chance to think creatively. It gave me a chance to think open-mindedly, and that was automatically what I wanted to do. But it gave me the environment. It's kind of like letting a horse go in a prairie with no fences and no harness on his face and paddock and all these things that people do to control a horse's freedom of movement and regiment them into behaviors that they want for that horse, which coincidentally is such a great illustration for what the school system does. And I don't want to knock what people need. People need that framework. I never needed the framework. In fact, that framework got in the way. after I finally got myself out of school when I was 16 years old, I had nightmares for 10 years that something went wrong in the paperwork and I had to go back. Nightmares, nightmares. I would wake up just panicked and, oh, is this real? Is this real? I gotta go to school tomorrow, whatever. And then it was just such a beautiful feeling to realize that I got out of that system. So when I did have to go in with first grade, my mother couldn't keep me home from school anymore. I had to go in and go to school every day, and I was petrified, although I didn't realize it at the time. I thought maybe everybody felt that way, or that's a natural way to feel, or whatever. I didn't really realize how wrong school was for a guy like me. And when I got to school, so getting around to the second explanation of why I'm a weird guy, I saw the kids lining up and pushing and shoving, racing, running to get in line for the drinking fountain. This is what the Chinese do for the bus. I lived in China for many years, and this is part of their social behavior. This is part of their culture. Run to get in line in front of somebody else. If you have to run, if you have to cut somebody out, it doesn't matter. Go right in front of them. Old ladies, kids, your best friend, doesn't matter. Just run and cut in front of people so that you can get in line first. So that you can either get a seat on the bus or so that you can get on the bus before it's totally full or whatever. Kids running to get, I knew, wait, there's no shortage of water. This thing, this attached to the wall thing that they call the drinking fountain, has a relatively infinite supply of water. At this particular moment, I'm not in any panic. I'm not dying of dehydration. I don't have to have that water immediately right now. And the last thing I need to do is push somebody else or cut in front of somebody else and deprive them of their rightful spot because I ran faster than they did. You know, because I stole their spot by rushing, like it's a musical chairs kind of a game. But it's not a game at all. This is real life, and this is how people live. So I refuse to stand in line. I refuse to wait in line. I refuse to push and shove. At 6 years old, I guess. I stood next to the drinking fountain. I watched people. I stood, maybe one friend just got a drink and he had nothing to do because this is drinking fountain time allotted. So we've got 10 minutes or whatever for everybody to get a drink. And so they had nothing to do for that other 9 minutes or whatever. So, you know, standing next to the drinking fountain, have a nice little chat, you know, watch the kids, say hi, observe the social behavior, which I did even at a young age, although I wasn't necessarily, maybe I've never consciously said, I'm going to watch social behavior. But that's what I was doing. I was absorbing how people treat each other, how people react, how people behave, why they do that. Anyway, that makes me a weirdo because I look outside the system. I don't join the system. I don't want to be part of the system. Now, the system was working great. When I worked at McDonald's, I was 16 years old. 16. And I was a grill opener. I had to be there at 4:30 in the morning. And we opened at 6. I had to turn on, you know, the lights and turn on the fryers and heat up the grill and stock the grill, you know, everything like that. Get everything ready for breakfast and start cooking breakfast. And then I would cook all the breakfast for everybody, myself, small, low-volume restaurant. And then lunchtime came along. I think it was 10 or 10:30 lunchtime. And I'd cook through lunch till 1 o'clock. And then 1 o'clock I'd go home, take a nap or something like that. And what I'm getting at is when it comes to systems, McDonald's had a great system. They had what was called a break room that was downstairs in the basement. You can go down to the break room. You can take a break down there, relax. And then they had a TV with video cassettes. Now this was 1977. And they had, I can't remember if it was VHS or Beta. I think it was Beta. But they had a stack of all these tapes, and all these tapes taught you the exact perfect correct way to cook a burger, make fries, make shakes, make the food, do these things. Take the order from the customer. There's 6 window steps, which I haven't seen for 30 years. Workers at McDonald's around the world doing their 6 window steps. I don't know if they threw that away consciously or just by accident, that people just nowadays, they don't even do their window steps anymore. So anyway, I love that system because I could learn everything I needed to learn exactly. People had researched and found out this is the best way to do that. And I caught flack for that. You know, when someone's working the window, there was a young lady who was emotionally unstable. She would cry. I don't know why. She'd get really upset. And then the manager, who was kind of a religious fanatic that always wanted to talk to me about religion, because she and I had different religions at the time. She was the manager. She was a nut to work with for me. It was hard to understand her and how to deal with her, especially as a young kid. I didn't really understand what was going on in her head. The front people working in the register are supposed to call back, whether it's the manager or whether it's the person who's in charge at the time. And then anything that the person on the grill says or the person they say, you're supposed to acknowledge that, right? When you acknowledge, it means that you understood what they said, that you heard that. Well, when people have deep-set emotional problems, they're very limited in their ability to communicate. In fact, a person's ability or willingness to communicate across a huge variety of topics indicates their sanity, indicates their emotional stability. They don't get thrown off by a personal question or things that are uncomfortable for them to talk about. So communication becomes a great indicator, and to the degree that we're able to communicate with ourselves and communicate with others in a sincere and honest and efficient way is directly related to our ability to love ourselves, to love each other, to love the world, to love in general. And love is sanity. Sanity is love. And so these people that were running this place, I was by myself there, they were a little bit unable to communicate. In my way at the time too, I was unable to communicate with them. I didn't really know how. I didn't know how to love myself. I didn't know how to love them. I didn't know how to respect where they were coming from, understand where they were coming from. At the time I thought they were nuts. Now I realize, hey, we're all nuts. We've all got weaknesses. We've all got shortcomings, and there was no reason to be as hopeless as I was, but I was hopeless. And I guess, there was a reason. I was just ignorant. I didn't understand love. I didn't understand how the world works. I didn't know much about people, 16 years old. Anyway, so, we weren't communicating well. I would say things she wouldn't acknowledge. I'd ask her something, she wouldn't reply. And, but I did love that system there when I had Mike Phillips, the manager, who ran that place. That was a company store as opposed to a franchise. The opportunity the guy gave me, and the guy that I really admired him, he was really, really great guy, and he gave me every opportunity to grow and learn and perform in that environment. And working at McDonald's, 1977, 70, part of 78, I guess, was just a stellar opportunity for me because I believed in the system. Fast forward to today, a lot of companies that I worked for, a lot of businesses that I've worked with, a lot of community projects that I've worked on, a lot of NGOs, a lot of government programs and projects and departments and different systems that I've worked with have been not well designed, not well researched, not well executed, not well strategized, not well structured. And, probably the best system that I've run across in my life so far has been as a grill opener at McDonald's 42 years ago. So anyway, here's what I wanted to share. I wanted to share some of the things that, I watched a video today And I've been thinking about how's LoveBudi different? And one of the key ways that LoveBudi is different is that I don't have an agenda to get rich. I'm not trying to be something that I'm not. I do have an agenda to make a living from LoveBudi, but the living is this little over $1,000 a month. Because I'm in a place where the cost of living is so low here, and I'm making a living online, and I already am making that much money as an English teacher. So I'm phasing over now. I'm phasing over from full-time English teacher, well, and then part-time working with the concept of love and sharing love in the world, to sharing love in the world full-time and working on ways that are going to help more people love themselves, love each other, and make the world a better place. From the experience I've had, from the research that I've done, I realize that love is the common denominator. Love is the foundation. If we don't have love, we have nothing. If we have love, we have everything we need. Because love is the starting point. Love is the foundation. Love is the launch point. And from there, seek anything you want. There was a guy, his name is Graham, on the internet, and he's talking about another internet star, a guy named Ty Lopez. And he said, why is this, mentioned 5 things. How Ty is such a successful guy. Now the guy's kind of, maybe we'll say superficial. Maybe we'll say he's a marketing genius. I guess he sells programs to help people get rich on the internet, and he flaunts his wealth. I don't know what he's doing for a community. I would guess probably not a whole lot. And sometimes people, they spend, they spend 99% of their time focusing on money, getting rich, being successful, building their financial empire. And then 1% of their time, they write a check to some charity or something. To me, that's not what my goal is. And that's not what LoveBudi is about. LoveBudi is about putting love first. Now, that doesn't mean give everything away that you have. It's a ridiculous idea if you give away your phone and you need your phone to help yourself and help others. It's a ridiculous idea to spend all the money that you have for food or for rent or for necessities. Throw away, your own financial security, throw away your own physical security. Love is part of loving yourself and loving others. So when you understand the balance there, the questions about selfishness, they get answered pretty darn quickly. So anyway, there's one of the guys that made a comment, and I want to take a quick look because I want to give this guy credit because he did a great job. And his name is Ken Ruan, R-U-A-N. This is a comment he made a year ago to a YouTube video by Graham Stephan called The Truth Behind Why Ty Lopez Ads Are So Effective. Okay, so here's one of the first points the guy makes. He makes 17 points here. Quickly. Okay, number 1, relating to the viewer's urgency. I know you don't have too much time, so I'll get to the point. Creates empathy. Yeah, I guess, there's a connection that's made there. So let's get through this quickly, I mean, I want to be respectful of time too. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're saying, I value your time, a lot of time maybe somebody's saying, I value my time. I don't want to waste a lot of time on this video. I just want to say what I want to say short, quickly, and then get on to eating caviar, whatever else, sitting on the front of their boat, taking pictures of themselves in their luxury car. Number 2, black and white paradigm creates instant self-identification and forces viewer to be part of a solution instead of a problem. Forces the viewer to be part of solution. Okay, so black and white paradigm. creating this contrast, creating this binary approach, simplifying. Number 3, attack status quo unapologetically. Impugn the education system, a system which none of us is a stranger to. Okay, so this is one of the approaches the guy makes. Tai Lopez. Like I didn't go to school. A lot of us that are internet guys, a lot of us, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, school dropouts, right? Harvard dropouts. I'm a high school dropout, but I took a test, so I had a high school proficiency equivalent diploma so that I could, any jobs that I got, I could say, okay. But talking about the education system, okay. So this is a part of the guy's setup because he's selling something. I'm not selling anything, by the way, here. I'm not selling anything. This video is going to end with me just saying, look, if you want to know more about love, if you believe in love, go to the website. Get more free information. Sign up if you want, subscribe if you want, get a course if you want. It's up to you. It's not about that. This video is about sharing information about love. It's about sharing information about how love applies to the world and contrasting this idea of someone who's trying to make money on the internet, and that's the whole motivation behind everything that they're trying to do, or do they have another agenda? My agenda is about love. Number 5. Okay. Oh, here. Number 4. Encourage a radical alternative route by denigrating traditional education system. So don't go to college for this, do this instead. I agree with that. Don't necessarily have to go to college. But go to college if you want. 5, recycle what's familiar. Use books and knowledge as a foundation of trust and empathy. 6, create a paradigm through offering, I have good news and bad news for you. Create relevance and immediate resolution. This may be the most important video I've ever recorded. All of these things, they can have value in themselves. I mean, they're really... I agree with so many of these things, but if you're putting them out there as kind of a trick to manipulate people, if the motivation there, you're saying these things is only to buy another Lamborghini, this guy Tai Lopez, I guess he lives in a Hollywood Hills house, or he said Beverly Hills, and then he said Hollywood Hills, I don't know, both or one or the other. I used to live nearby there. I lived in Los Angeles. I don't see any value in isolating myself into that area. I consider the world as my home. And anywhere that I can help, I'm going to go there. And I've been to 50 countries so far. And in the future, I hope to visit a whole lot more. So the bottom line is, when you say something, maybe it's true. Maybe you say, hey, water is wet, the sky is blue. What's behind? What's your intention behind that? What are you trying to accomplish? Well, when you see somebody's lifestyle and you see what they're doing in the world, is that what you want to do? Do you want to live in Beverly Hills? Do you want to have all these luxury cars in the garage? Do you want to spend all your time focusing on something that is helping other people or not? The only reason why I focus so much on helping other people and how I see love as a great way to help ourselves, it helps us individually have a joyful and happy life, have a meaningful life. Love is all about that. But love is also all about, if you see someone in need, our love machine inside our heart loves to help other people. There just hasn't been a real effective way of doing that, because the way the systems are set up, it's very difficult to do. It's very difficult to help other people. There are a lot of reasons. In fact, they even make it illegal sometimes that people have been arrested for feeding the hungry, for feeding the homeless in the park, setting up a food line or something like that by individuals. People have been arrested in the U.S. for doing that recently. So, because so few people are really able to understand, how can I help myself? How can I help others? How can I make this world a better place? What can I do to do that? Is there some way to do that? Is there some place to put my energy? So much of the time it's not. I've worked with organizations that were NGOs, that were based upon a community project, community ideas, empowering community, helping others, but they were completely corrupt, completely poorly run, completely wasteful, completely deceptive. I was part of it, volunteering at a food pantry in Chicago on the South Side that was only about indoctrinating people with some crazy religious fundamentalist agenda, and it wasn't about feeding people at all. It was using that as bait, and the guy who was running the place, who funded the place, who managed the place, told me that. He told me that straight out. He said, we're not really here to feed people. This is just to get them to come in. I said, look, this guy drives up in a Mercedes and gets free food. Is that right? Does that guy really need it? Aren't there other people who need it more? It doesn't matter. We're here to share. We're here to save souls, or whatever the line was that was justifying, getting people into their cult, but not really empowering people. Maybe their idea was about, because these people that run these organizations, they've only ever been in one religion. They don't really understand how religion works, how it can be such a trap, how it can be such brainwashing, such misleading, and how it stops people. And here's a perfect example: from empowering others, from nurturing others, and from really loving each other, respecting others. No, they don't do that. They say, look, you need to have this religious framework. You need to believe in this. And that's what that's about. And nothing else matters, because when you die, then you're going to go to heaven. If you don't go for this, then you're going to go to hell. You're going to burn forever. Be tortured forever. And that's what love is. That's what they teach. And that's what their agenda is. Because they don't know any better. They haven't been in any other religions. They haven't really traveled. They haven't really experienced other religions and experienced other cultures. They've never done that. Luckily, I have. When I stood next to that drinking fountain line, I started my journey at 6 of getting outside the system, looking from outside the system, seeing how the system is designed, see how the system is run, the foundation, the intention, the structure, the strategy. That's what my whole life has been about. So when I got into programming, I never went to school for programming. I'm a software programmer. I taught myself. Not great. There are some guys that are much, much sharper, but not necessarily because they were educated at all. Had everything to do with their aptitude, where their mind went, and the physical power of parts of their brain and how they could do that. But I took to programming like a fish takes to water, because I understand systems and how systems should work and how things should be organized to work efficiently, to work properly. It's second nature to me, especially after watching and studying and looking at how governments work, and looking at how religions work, looking at how education systems work, looking at how the private sector, corporations, or businesses work. What's their foundation? What's their goal? How do they handle problems that come up? How do they manage the way their businesses run? Things like that. LoveBudi is different than all of that, because love is the center. We surrender dreams about power and money, surrender dreams about, trying to get everyone to like us. Some people, and it's too bad. I mean, I would like, people to really embrace love. And so many people do, but a lot of people don't, because they don't, well, there are a lot of reasons I won't get into, and I don't want to judge these people, but at the same time, I do want to say that I think they've learned a different version of what love is. And that kind of love that they have studied, whether it's in some cult that they learn about love, or they learn this idea of tough love, which in my opinion is just another kind of hate. So when I say love, when I talk about LoveBudi, we're like, screwy. That guy's screwy. Something's wrong. Okay. That's all right. I can't be able to share love with everyone. Not everyone's going to embrace love as it comes from me. Hopefully they're going to embrace it somehow from somebody. But LoveBudi is different. And LoveBudi doesn't use these manipulative strategies. It's all right here. Ask me any questions you want. Check out the videos. In the comment section of this video, there are some links you can look into if you want to know more about love. If you think that this is crazy or you think this is great, whatever you might think, share a comment. Definitely welcome to do that. This has been a LoveCast. Thanks so much for listening. I hope your life is filled with love. I love you. Have a wonderful day. Until next time, I'll say bye-bye for now.